Here at Veteran Trash Talk, we actually vet our sponsors. We don't just take their money and run like a Butterbar lieutenant lost on the land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran and their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
And so my honesty cap is dedicated to a little, we'll call it a public service announcement for civilians and other people in the military. There are a few people that you should always take their stories with a grain of salt. Vegans, CrossFitters, and special operations guys that tell you that they were special operations without being prompted. The first thing they say is, yeah, I used to be soft. Right. The only unicorn in that entire group is like a special operations guy that was like a vegan and did CrossFit. That guy's probably going to stay quiet for a little bit longer because he's confused as what he should talk about first. And that's the only reason. Right. Anybody that says that they were soft without being prompted or without it being like a normal part of your communications is probably either an enabler or going to tell you a bunch of stuff that's not exactly true.
What's up, Trash Talkers? What's up, Gruntworks Nation? Big Earl. You heard Dave talk. You heard Buddy talk. Now, Buddy's all about, he is a Green Beret and he's Special Forces and yada, yada, yada. But he will not tell you that unless, he really, really likes you and he's made dinner for you. However, what Veteran Trash Talk does is we bring a lot of light to the veteran community, the first responder community. We promote that what we're doing well, all right, whether we're running for office, we started a business, nonprofit, all those things. Veteran Trash Talk is a super clean page. We got Gruntworks if you want to go there and raise a little hell a little bit, but we are here to promote veteran-owned businesses. So the show you are about to watch is a veteran or veterans or a spouse of a veteran or a child of a veteran that's doing great things in the community, and we need your help promoting them and getting them all all the success that they need. All right, guys, enjoy the show.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What's up, Trash Talkers? What is up, Gruntworks Nation? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 12 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is Lieutenant General retired Milford Beagle, who will be promoting his book, When the Map Runs Out. And joining me, as usual, our buddy and the Big Earl. Happy Saturday. Cheers.
Happy Saturday. Cheers. Yeah. Make sure you grab that 10th Mountain bourbon. Right. So
Yes,
I don't know. We actually have a previous division commander. So we are sponsored by 10th Mountain Whiskey. And so we work for booze. So put in that. So put in that code VTT, get yourself a discount. I got the cordial right up there behind the Gruntworks sign. But no, man, hey, I'm freaking pumped. I witnessed history today in cross country. So that was fun. My daughters were running in the the California Southern Finals, trying to qualify for state. They didn't, unfortunately. They took 12th, which wasn't bad because they're a very small school in a good division. However, the girl who won that Division II race ran her 3 mile in 15 minutes and 14 seconds. So
It's just insane, dude.
Wow.
When you mentioned that earlier, here we are bragging about our 2 mile time on our dens. And this girl literally did a 5-minute mile.
Yeah.
What do they deadlift though?
Yeah. What did she deadlift? Could she do a leg tuck?
Okay, yeah. But what's your bench though?
What's your bench? Yeah.
That probably benches. Probably does all right. No, so that was pretty cool to watch
That's
that.
insane.
So, yeah.
Especially at that age, right? Because they're what, 14, 15, 16?
Well, yeah, 18 up to 18 on the seniors. She was from
18.
Irvine High School. Yeah, she was kicking it. So, no, that was pretty cool to see. And then my youngest, who is 15, she ran her PR 18:12 for her 3 miles. So
Yeah, but that's 3 miles in 18 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah, 6-minute miles.
Like cross country, like
Cross
you jump.
country, you're right. It's not
yeah,
like
You're not on a
Wasn't
track.
our
Or
dens.
like
it wasn't down our dens and back. Yeah,
That's really impressive.
yeah.
but no, so that was fun for me. That was my start to the day.
I ran cross country a couple weeks ago. Got a twisted ankle. So I'm just. It only took about 18 minutes to get that too. So it's
That walking in your backyard. Yeah.
Yeah, I got out of bed, started running to the bathroom, twisted my ankle, fell cross country, kind of ish. 18 minutes and 12 seconds to get back up.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. Buddy's going to do an honesty cap today. We're excited. I'm not going to cover a conspiracy. I think we've gone through so many. We've gone over like 200 conspiracies already in the last couple of years. So I need to dig a little bit more. Otherwise, I'm just talking about the same stuff over and over.
That we're not going over the 3i Atlas.
Yeah, let's do that for a minute. What happened to that thing?
Doing
gone.
weird stuff. I don't know. I do know that my brother tells my dad about 3i Atlas all the time just to drive him insane. He's like, he tells him what he's seen on TikTok or YouTube. He's like, man, this 3i Atlas, it's really coming. And my dad's like, what the hell are you talking about? Damn aliens coming.
For anybody that's confused what Buddy's talking about, for anybody that's watching, we covered this a while ago. 3i Atlas is a comet, I guess, that they've been watching for the last 8 months, maybe even longer. And I guess it hit our orbit, and then I haven't really followed anything else. But obviously, a lot of people were talking about like weird maneuvers and like some type of smoke coming off of it, and a lot of people were claiming that it was supposedly like a UFO.
Did they say it was slowing down
or whatever. Yeah, they were saying it's slowing down and like changing directions and stuff. But yeah, clearly nothing happened. So we're
also supposedly had, a trail coming off of it or things coming off of it and lights coming from it. And like, it was changing velocity. It was all kinds of, it depended on who you looked at on whatever social media.
Which TikTok expert was covering
was looking at it. And then of course they were, well, NASA's not saying anything because they're covering it up. Like, first of all, what would they gain out of covering it up?
Oh,
Yeah.
Quinn's back. Yeah, what would
Hey,
they
Quinn.
gain out of covering it up when they would need a budget? Like NASA oftentimes loses their budget. So if they were able to be like, no, we need money, bro. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, if you did think that it was like some giant alien spaceship that was coming, why would you cover it up? Because at some point when it's hovering over Los Angeles, you'd be like, all right, hear me out. We didn't think that you guys could handle it, but now handle it, I guess. That's
Yeah.
no worry about it.
No, that's when you start with what had happened was.
Now, what
That's how you start that
Yeah,
one.
exactly. So what had happened was we weren't so our guy that looks for these things is blind in his left eye. He's an infantryman now. He couldn't see that section of space, so it's not really his fault.
Emil Butch Bratton checking in from Vinton, Iowa. Man, how's Vinton, Iowa? Pretty flat, I take it. So, but no, hey, sir, did you have to sign an NDA on the Atlas before you got out? Was CAC tracking it?
Yeah,
Right?
no, we were good. Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the other
just say I can't talk about it, sir. It'll make it
Hey,
interesting.
when we had General Funk and Garrett on, General Garrett didn't say anything about the conspiracy. He was real quiet and was like,
UAPs, yeah, UFOs and stuff.
what
Yep.
did he know? What did he know that he wasn't allowed to talk about?
Well, he was one level up. So Garrett and Funk, they're like one level up. So they're privy to a few more things than a lowly 3-star is.
Yeah. We've had several pilots on the show too that didn't want to comment on it.
Oh yeah, when Killer Chick came on, when Casey Campbell came on for her book, and she was like, she covered the conspiracy, but then messaged us like, hey, like that part, no ads on that part, no clips on that part. And we're like, okay.
nobody wants to be labeled a believer.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, then pilots do some weird stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They do.
But all right, buddy, go.
You got this, or
he's muted.
Do what?
It's your turn.
Yeah, I know. So on this show, we've done a lot of talking. I have done some talking about homeless animals, and I've made some jokes, and I feel like a hypocrite at this point. So let me tell this whole story, and I'll get into the honesty cap. About 2 months ago, I went to a buddy's house, and I had a couple drinks. I may have been a little overserved. Turns out when I get overserved, I also get very mushy and sentimental towards rescue dogs. Who knew? Anyway, the next day, fast forward, I went to the pound and I fostered 2 rescue puppies. And I was just going to foster them, and then they were going to get adopted out. 2 months later, they're not adopted out, and now their names are Allie and Tally. Allie is short for Ali Qaeda, and Tally is short for Taliban because they're little terrierists. And they are in fact terrierists. But I was thinking about it. I had a pretty long drive, and sometimes my mind will wander when I'm driving. Anyway, and I realized that that at one point I talked about on the show, why would I help homeless animals? They're just animals, and left to their own devices, they can take care of themselves, which is a true statement. That's not a hypocritical statement. What is a hypocritical statement is then going to foster dogs, and I realized that I am making a set of bitch-made dogs. Like, these dogs came from the streets. Like, they were rough and rumble. Like, if they had been left to their own devices, they'd be out killing sheep or hunting cows. I don't know, making their own dinner.
Terriers hunting cows.
And now I've gone to the rescue, and I pulled them from their poop and brought them home and gave them a shower. And now they're just sleeping on the couch. If they had to go back to the shelter, they would never survive anymore because of me. I did it. I weakened them to the point that they're not even really dogs anymore. I don't think that they know how to be dogs. If they went back to the shelter, they would literally talk to the other dogs, and the other dogs would be like, hey, what's up? Like, it's rough out here. Like, it's basically like if they went back, if there were dogs from 2-3 generations ago that talked to dogs that we have now, it would be worse than how we look at like younger soldiers that are going in the army. Like back in my day, we just had dry food on a paper plate and maybe some dirty water from a hose that we got. And these dogs are like, well, I have Pampered Chef, like food.
The farmer's market, the farmer's dog.
Stuff that's human quality food that I get so that my bones stay healthy. And I'm eating green peas for some reason because dogs hunted green peas back in the olden days, apparently, and carrots and broccoli or whatever. But basically, my honesty cap is we are doing a disservice to our animals, guys. And we really need to think about maybe just putting them back out in the woods for a couple weeks. So they got to get a reality check. They're living in this air-conditioned, heated, climate-controlled space where I don't think you can walk around my house now without stepping on a dog bed. I don't even know where my floor is. It's just dog beds and like just dogs everywhere and dog beds. At one point, my wife was worried when we let them stay at someone's house that we didn't take their bed and they would have to sleep on the floor. Sleep on the floor. Their dogs can't sleep on the floor. They have to sleep on some cushion somewhere.
Yep.
That's us. I did that. I'm ruining these dogs. We got to stop ruining our dogs. I'm not going to do it, but you guys got to stop ruining your dogs. Because if they ever get into a fight with a bobcat, they're going to lose that one because they're just they're baby-made little weak dogs that we cause because we coddle these dogs. We gotta figure out a way. Poke them with a stick or something. We gotta do something. I don't know, but dogs out here weak. They're weak. They're not like old dogs. They're not like the old dogs.
You might have saved their life. What type of a rescue was it, buddy?
Yeah.
Were they going to get put to sleep?
No, there were 8 puppies that were found in a school bus with 2 people living in it because their house had gotten condemned. It's one of them right there. See?
Nice.
Horrible weak dogs. They don't know anything. They just jump right on the couch. Anyway, one of the puppies died from parasites and fleas and ticks, and then they were like legitimately like the ones you see on the commercial during Thanksgiving where they're like, "In the arms of an angel." And they're like,
dude, that one gets you, bro. That commercial, if you're drinking and that commercial comes on, it's tough. It's tough.
Screwed at that point.
Maybe I had too many bourbons. That's the tell. When you put that commercial on, you start crying. You've had too much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cebu coming in from the Philippines. John Burns, look at that. Oh, watching from the Philippines. Thanks for tuning in. And then Tanner Port called you soft.
I am. I'm not going to lie. He's right. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Yeah. Oh, this is like a Kirkover speech. We're not going there. Yeah.
If anything ever happens to my family and these dogs have to go like fend for themselves, they're going to get eaten by coyotes. They'll be out here wolf meal. They're not going to survive. And it's my fault. I did it.
Yeah. And then we got Joe Troutman checking in, another good veteran author, previous guest on the show with the Gods of War. Oh, that's a great book. He said I might get a movie deal with that one. That would
see if I had it laying around here. Yep.
Yeah. But no, hey, buddy, I gotta. You're going too hard on yourself. So if you maybe were too intoxicated to remember your honesty cap about homeless pets, I think you were more trying to tell people that when a pet becomes homeless, it just becomes an animal again. It's not really homeless. It's now just an animal.
Right, but now I've made it so that these dogs become homeless again. They don't have the skills that they're going to need to survive in this world.
Yeah, like I said, I got a family of bobcats in my backyard.
This dog's chewing on a bone made of plastic. That's not going to help it at all. Period.
Oh, I was not expecting that you would reverse on it, but you still try to get a little harder. Like you're saying you got to let him out, but you're not going to let him out.
Well, I'm not going to do it because that's just mean. At this point, I've already ruined them. That would be animal cruelty, and I think that's a charge in a lot of places. So, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Other people should probably toughen your dogs up. Yeah. Yeah. Y'all need to toughen your dogs up, not me. I'm not.
Man.
You guys should.
Yeah, I'm guilty too. Our dog has 2 beds. At one point it had 3, and it was like, does it really need the third? We got rid of the third one, but yeah, we were just gone for over the night, and I was having like almost like night tremors of what if the dog hears a noise and wakes up and we're not there?
My wife.
What are we gonna do?
My wife leaves animal TV shows on the TV when we leave because she's convinced that they want to watch elephants.
I want to watch that, huh?
Yeah. Maybe that'll help, though. Maybe they'll see it and they'll learn, and they'll be like, that's if anything happens, we at least have the knowledge. We might not be able to put it into action, but we have the knowledge to be able to hunt on the Serengeti or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You guys remember Joe Troutman on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently there's a movie deal going around where somebody's going to play old Captain Robinson, old Colonel Rob Robinson. I texted him immediately and said, "You better not have somebody play you. Like I'm going to be the liaison for that. Like, no, that is not how he acts. Like, so like that." Like, you better not get Colonel Rob, somebody playing, some good-looking guy playing Colonel Rob. Colonel Rob's like this tall, and like
I know you're not talking right now about movie deals. I came up with a great screenplay, and you haven't
don't come up with. I've the screenplay has been lightly leaked. You can't leak the whole thing.
I'm not going to leak the whole thing, but we need to get that. We need to get that on.
We should get the general's advice on this one. We can leak a little bit of it. Right?
I don't think we leak any of it.
And like what happens when a couple of homeless rangers start patrol-based activities?
Boom, and then
in the city,
just goes from there. Yep, you go back to basics.
Saying, like and we came up with that script pretty quick. The whole plot line of it. It's going to be gold. I'm sure it'll.
We've
sell
already
like
got
copies.
sequels.
Yeah.
We've already got sequels.
Nice.
But all right, well. All right, and I'll cover that in the AAR about what to do and not to do with pets. But I get the distinct privileges. Buddy goes to refill his hot chocolate and Ruppelmints or whatever he's drinking over there in Tennessee. But no, I've been trying to get this awesome American on the show for quite some time, and his PAO just would not let it happen. Even one of the PAOs was a former 2P guy, and I thought we were in. I was like, oh, it's the old Fires guy from 2P. Yeah, like we're getting. Was it Fernand? Oh, I'm blanking on his name.
Frago.
Yeah.
Brian Frago.
Yeah, Frago. I'm sitting I'm like, oh, we're in. Like, he loves us. Like, it's going down. Like, he understands this because I get it. Sometimes we cover conspiracies and we cuss a little bit. And we had one former SEAC on here that made a comment about a 4-star that didn't go over well. I had to go talk to. I had to stand on the carpet for that one. I was like, I didn't say that.
Shout out to Sergeant Major Troxel. We love you.
John Wayne Troxel. But yeah, so I get it. However, the reason that I wanted to bring this awesome American on was we started Veteran Trash Talk while still active duty. And, when I went to another awesome American who's the Uster Pack Sergeant Major, I walked into his office and I said, hey, I was like, we're going to see an uptick in suicides and we're going to see an uptick in domestic violences during these COVID regulations. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, you're going to, the op tempo is not going to slow down. And you're going to tell these dudes that they need to go sit in their house and then just stay there? Like, not a good idea. What are we going to do about it? And then at the same time, another buddy of mine, Joe, who does the fight show, the UFC show, which, by the way, he went perfect. So if you gamble with him, you made a lot of money this morning at the UFC. He was like, hey, I think it's time we start that podcast because, I'm not doing too well because he had a bunch of injuries and the VA canceled all of his appointments during COVID and all that stuff and has upped his prescriptions. And so, we went, us old gray hairs, we went to the social media and we're like, let's start a platform where guys can get on here and chat and talk. And before we knew it, we had 70,000 followers. So and then all of a sudden now we're at 160 on VTT and 560,000 on Gruntworks. you know, and then, you know, brought Buddy on and brought Dave on, and I was like, you gotta meet the soldiers where they're at, and they had this new thing called Zoom, right? And so we're gonna get on Zoom, and we're gonna try and we're gonna talk to each other. And again, we didn't even know that we had a
Live. Facebook Live is what we did.
Facebook Live, well, that was legit too. And you know, we didn't even know we had a podcast for like 3 months. And you know, our producer, before we hired the Marine, was like, "Hey, how come you guys don't promote the podcast? That gets a lot of downloads." And we're like, "What podcast?" He's like, "I put all your audio on all of this stuff." And we're like, "Oh, didn't know that either." It was simply, we just, you know, we wanted to, you know, show veterans doing great things, active duty people doing great things, as opposed to, "Oh, I'm broken and the VA sucks." It's like, no, let's change the script a little bit. And then I started, I found out what this Twitter thing was, right? And then it changed to X, and I got on there and I started seeing somebody coloring on napkins, and I'm like, this say general on it, right? And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. He was 10th Mountain Commander. He wasn't the 82nd. You know, 82nd Commander. You know, just like,
same corps. We're just at the bottom of the corps.
Yeah, it just, I mean, it's not third ID. It's a little higher. Well, at least you got the mountain, you know. So, but no, I was like, okay. I started to, you know, find leaders that were, you know, meeting soldiers where they were at, you know, and not just soldiers, officers too, like the younger officers, the lieutenants, the younger captains. They're on social media, right? And that is a quick way to reach them. And so I applauded that. I followed it. Like I said, I've been trying to get you on to talk about that. What brought up this napkin leadership? What was all that about? And then you finally retired, so we got you.
Yeah.
So
welcome to the show.
I've been waiting.
Yeah. And you wrote a book. So welcome to the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, otherwise known as the Dumpster Fire, which, you know, we talk about aliens and homeless pets. So now we got.
Yeah, that's truly dumpster fire stuff.
Yeah, so welcome. Give us a quick rundown of you know, anything you want, and just all that stuff.
No, Big Girl, I appreciate linking up with you and the rest of the team. But your point of meeting soldiers where they are, I mean, that's what kind of got me going in social media. I mean, I had social media back when I was a battalion commander, and the only reason I had it then was because the division commander at the time, I won't say what division I was in, came in a room of battalion commanders and said, by Monday morning, this was a Friday, all of you will have Facebook by Monday. And we were like, he can't do that. We're looking around like, well, can we go to the IG? We're like, that's not a good idea. And it's like, you know, but none of us wanted social media. And he dictated, we're going to have it by Monday. And so one of my buddies looks at me and says, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to have Facebook by Monday morning. That's our senior raider. I'm not stupid. I might look at it, but I'm not stupid. So Facebook it is. And from that, I learned, you know, that's where you truly could, even then, you know, meet soldiers where they were. And I commanded a battalion back in 2008 to 2010. And even then with Facebook, I mean, that's where, you know, I got a lot of information and things came directly to me and they didn't come from top down. I mean, this was from soldiers, from spouses, and people were like, well, I don't want all those problems. Well, I really have the problems, and the problems go somewhere else, then come to me, because then we can handle all that stuff in-house. And that's where it really started. And, you know, along came, like you said, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. But it was exactly that, a place to meet everybody, and especially all the soldiers, you know, where they were. The napkins, I mean, I've been doodling, drawing, you know, a lot throughout life. But to explain leadership simply, that's what the napkins are all about. And Albert Einstein said it, if you can't explain something well enough, or he put it this way, he said, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. And so for me, that was an exercise in, you know, mental agility. If I can put this on a napkin and you can explain where I'm coming from in terms of leadership and not just my view, how do you view it? It clicked. And so one napkin just kept turning into more napkins and more napkins. The people, it resonated a bit and was like, yeah, I interpret that to mean X, Y, and Z. And you can see how deeply people were thinking about napkins. I mean, you put doctrine in front of somebody and say exactly the same thing, and people will just like freaking fall over asleep. They're not going to read it. I mean, I put a lot of doctrine stuff, some of it inside a napkin in a picture, and it resonates more.
You're muted, buddy.
Yeah, well, I thought my space bar. Somebody could explain my computer on a napkin. Maybe I could get this thing to work right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that it makes it also the Army military, actually, not just the Army, we've gotten real wrapped around fluff words and expanding things to make it more. You're using more words to say less. And if we kind of went the opposite way and used less words to say more, we'd be better off.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and there's no simpler way to do it than in a picture. And not even a lot of words. I mean, I think each of my napkins may have no more than 5 or 10 words on it, maybe. And part of that is the title. And try to use that same rule with slides. I mean, you've all seen our Army PowerPoint, everything else. So my rule there is if it has more than 25 words on it, they're too many.
Yep. No, hey, I don't know if this is a compliment, but it got the Big Earl's attention on Twitter. So
that's good. Yeah.
I'm like, no, and perfect. And I used to say this as a Ranger instructor when I was talking to, mostly I saved this AAR for the PL during when I was a PL walker. And, I was like, there was some older doctrine about what audacity meant. And, and from SCAT, and it was like, it's a simple plan boldly executed, right? Not the other way around, like not a stupid plan, not a bold plan, simply execute a simple plan, right? Does that gunner, does that AG, if his gunner get down, know what he's supposed to do, right? And it goes up the chain, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I found. I'm like he's reaching that. One of the questions I had before we get into the book, and I brought this up on the show a while ago, talking about how we need to utilize social media, but we were also talking about the political climate at the time, and it kind of resonates now to where instant gratification of the social media. Everybody has instant gratification. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants to feel like that's some point in their life, right? Everybody wants to know that somebody saw this and pat on the back, which you actually talked about in your book. But we have to be careful with this generation of social media likes and hearts and shares, because if you're a senior leader and you say something on social media, it's going to get acted upon right away, right? Much quicker than we ever seen before. Did you run into any of that, or have to did that come into play?
No, I mean, because I was always very mindful because of that point. I mean, and you got to go in knowing how you go. I mean, you say anything, that's even in person, right? I mean, if you're in person and say something, I don't care if it's, colonel, general, sergeant major, you got to be very careful about what you say, because a lot of people are hanging on to those words and oh, you said it. I mean, I can't count the amount of times soldiers come up to me and go, "So we heard it was your policy that." And I'm like, there's more things that I say that I don't say. I actually never came out of my mouth. And if you put it on social media, then it magnifies. It gets even worse. So very mindful of, those things that you put out there, and just worrying about, how they would play. And so you'd think tight post. I mean, that's kind of like a silly saying that somebody put out there, but it is so true, because once you shoot it, it's like a bullet. It's not coming back, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you can see on social media. You see a lot of. My bad, Dave. I didn't.
Go ahead, brother.
Well, I was going to say, you can see on social media a lot of people that don't. They're emotional, or they let their emotions kind of get them in trouble because they're passionate or emotional about something, and before they take a minute to breathe, think, and then post it, they hit send and they post it and they regret it in the future. And I think that's probably
it's online. It's online. Yep.
Yeah. Well, yep. I mean, and it's a thing that I think leaders, like, we've talked about BNOC and ANOC and, master leaders course and even OCFs and those courses, we do all the Army doctrine. I think that at some point the Army, the military rather, is going to have to look at it and realize that it's not something they can ignore, because they're doing a lot of damage to themselves, individually and as a whole in the military, by not having, making a discussion about what you can post, what you can't post,
what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
What's appropriate in uniform, what's appropriate not in uniform. All of that is all right there in it. And then there was another question more for your book than the social media side of the military. Was I had a commander once tell me that asked me how I felt about likership versus leadership. And then he explained it. Likership is when you want your soldiers to like you more than you want to lead them, because they're going to have to not like you at some point. They may they need to respect you, but at some point they're not going to like what you have to tell them to do.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people that are in leadership roles kind of get that convoluted, and they want to be the popular leader as opposed to the leader that's doing the right thing. And how do you feel about that, and how do you address that in your book?
Yeah, so I address it head on because I mean that's one of the points I talk about, that I got calibrated very early, and it was as a young lieutenant, and one of my squad leaders actually did it. And the way I tell the story is, I value leadership over leadership as a very young lieutenant, which means I wanted to be liked more than I wanted to be trusted. And so one day I had this one squad leader, and he was always a bit standoffish, kind of. So I walked up to him one day and I said, "Why don't you like me?" I won't say his name, sorry. So I said, "Why don't you like me?" He looked me dead in the eye and he said, "Sir, I don't need to like you to work for you, but I need to make sure you lead this platoon to the best of your ability, even if that means telling you what you don't want to hear." And it like clicked in my head immediately. And like to this day, that squad leader, we stayed friends. I mean, even after I left the unit, he retired. He's the godfather of my oldest son. That's how much I respected him. And if not for somebody telling me that point to point, I would have been uncalibrated. And that's how leaders lose their true north. I mean, you find yourself walking in the wrong direction, like by yourself. It's not from incompetence. It's just from lack of calibration. You got distorted at some point. And so if not for that lesson, I mean, it may would have happened at some point later, but learn that one very early. But I think your younger leaders now, I mean, they still wrestle with that, and that's what they chase. I mean, some of it links back to what we talked about with social media. I got more likes, I got more followers. I mean, all this type of stuff. And I think they don't understand is I've got a lot of followers too, but you got to lead to get followers, and they just want followers for followers' sake. They're doing nothing really to get them.
You have followers and they have spectators. There's a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was something we were talking about and we'll get to the book here. Just the one last point on the social media is like there are active duty leaders that are there to project. They are there to get the followers, not to lead. And you catch those, you see them right away if you got any type of the fifth principle. But that is not what you put off at all, and that's what intrigued me. I'm like, nah, he's pushing out doctrine here on a napkin. Little bits and pieces, and where it's making sense. And so, yeah, then as as you were winding down at the Combined Arms Center, did you start writing the book before you got out, or was this something that when you got out, like, hey, here's what I'm going to do? And then tell us about the book when the map runs out. The links, everybody watching, and if you're listening later, the links are on the platform. So go click on it, go buy the book.
Yeah. I mean, I was always thinking about it. I mean, I didn't start writing anything while I was still on active duty, but just the thought of it, because the one thing that bugged me quite a bit was, I call it gimmick leadership. That's where I started, because I mean, a lot of gimmicks out there, and I read tons of leadership, tons of books, and it amazes me how many people can sell stuff. And I don't want to be disrespectful. I know a lot of the authors out there, and I've talked to some of them, but you can take very simple ideas, and people just it just resonates. And you're like, holy cow, you're talking about something that we know in the Army, like in our sleep. We can do that in our sleep. I wouldn't say you stole it from us, but simple things that we know how to do, you took it. I'm like, well, it's kind of a gimmick, and I don't want to give a framework. I mean, I've been a planner. I've gone to all the military schools for planning, and frameworks. I mean, they all work until they don't, and that got me to the metaphor. And I said, I just need something to make it stick. To not just military. Obviously, a map and a compass will stick to all of us very easy, but to anybody else. And I just found that metaphor of a map and a compass is the one thing, because your maps are your plans, your strategies, your frameworks. They're all going to run out at some point. We all know that, which is why we have pace plans. I mean, when you're down to your E in your pace plan, it's like, okay, well, what do you do now? That's back on you. That's back to your true north, what you believe in, what you value, and then where you're going to go. I even tell the story. I keep several in my house. I don't think I put it in the book, but I'll put it in my keynote. this is a pine needle. So you being an RI, you'd recognize it if you can see it.
Yeah.
And I tell the story about, an RI with a pine needle. So when they come to you and say, pull out your map and ask you, where are you, Ranger? And this is in your fingers, everybody already knows the answer. You're already lost. And I said, it's not because they had a better map. It's because you've got an uncalibrated compass. So I use examples like that. And don't reach for another plan. Don't reach for your checklist because it's not really going to help you. And, very simple things that, I lay out there that I think will, cause people to stop and think, right? Do they really know what their values are? And do they understand how they're actually using them? Because I think everybody day to day, they use those values, but they don't really understand, what did I just do? Because you didn't have a plan. You figured out something. Where'd that come from? That's your true north talking to you.
Yeah, I was reading. I got about 70 pages in since you sent me that, and so a 300-meter hurdles champion.
Yeah,
that's not an easy race. I could talk a little trash about that's the guys that weren't fast enough in the real hurdle race, so they kind of go sign up for that one because no one wants to run that one. So
no, I did both high and low. And the college was it was 400 meters, but yeah, but the thing about I did 3 sports, but then I was better with my feet than I were with my hands. So the quarterback I played with in high school, he went on to Notre Dame. So the last time Notre Dame won a championship was with the quarterback from my high school. Kid could throw like bullets, but at any rate, my feet were better than my hands. So I stuck with track, and that's just the way I've always viewed life as well. Because people don't want to fall. Nobody wants to go do hurdles because nobody wants to fall. It's not a natural thing to do. And you're going to bust your ass a lot running hurdles. You just get used to it. Fall, get back up. But that became a mentality too.
Yeah, I didn't want to give too much of the book away, guys. Go buy the book. But you were talking about, I believe it was your father looking for that attaboy, all right, looking for that good job. And then you brought up the true north and the values. And I laughed when you said, like, every leader, a lot of leaders think that they have to have these 10 values that they have to project, right, on their board or on their wall. And I'm like, thank God you're not General Funk and his 7,000 fundamentals. Like I was making fun of him. I'm like,
fundamentals. Yeah, 44 of them. 44. We had to keep.
Good Lord! Oh my God!
Even as a 1-star, we had to keep it. We was like, what's fundamental 42? Sir, I have no freaking idea. We got 44.
I always carry a knife. I just went to the knife one. I always have a knife.
The one that I do remember, he said, never pass opportunity to use a clean latrine. That was like so true. I remember that one. Out of all 44, that's the one that stuck with me. Especially when you get older, you're like your bladder. You're like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I don't need to, but it's clean.
Yeah, and you kind of said in the book how it's not necessarily a leadership book. Well, it's not one. It's more. And then I like how there's the exercises. I haven't gotten to all of them yet. But with that true north, with those values, like I liked it because I struggled to find a way to explain that sometimes, to where I always try to say leadership is actually kind of easy. And I was like, once you figure out who you are. And I think a lot of people can't lead because they don't know who they are. So how can they lead anybody else?
For sure.
So,
talk about that. I would agree and say leadership is easy. It's just hard to live.
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, we all know what it is. Everybody kind of gets it, but it's hard to live. And then living it, doing it, the right way. What does it really mean? The other thing I really hate, there's a good book called The Servant, which is one of my favorite books, because no other book really describes it. We use it very loosely. Oh, servant leadership. I want to be a servant leader. Like, what is it? And you kind of get that answer. But I mean, this guy, he lays out, he said, it means identifying and meeting the needs of others. That's what it is, fundamentally. I mean, and to live that, you're doing a lot, no matter what level you are, how you go, because you're identifying and meeting the needs of others constantly. And that's really what it's about.
You know what I think is an aspect of leadership that we don't prioritize very often is that the best leaders that I have or have had have all been fundamentally okay with failure as a learning tool. It's not okay to quit, but it's definitely okay to fail as long as you learn from your failure and it makes you better. And in all aspects of your life, you get a kid who goes out and, you don't want them to drink and drive, but inevitably somebody's going to get a DUI. And if you make that point of failure, and something that's going to ruin and or define the rest of their life. You're not doing the unit, yourself, or them any you're not helping them at all. You're not helping your unit, and it doesn't matter. And I've said this a ton of times, especially when talking about the 82nd and defending the 82nd and why it's the best unit in the Army.
The division.
The division. There are plenty of divisions. That is the division.
There is a division. Yeah.
And I think the reason that the 82nd is one of the premier infantry units in the Army has nothing to do with the soldiers in the 82nd. It has everything to do with the fact that at a very early time in their career, they're all given the opportunity to lead and to fail and learn from that leadership and that failure. So they grow to be outstanding leaders if they stay there long enough, because it's the only division where you jump, you assemble with who you assemble with, and then you go from there. And you put in, you start doing the mission because you've already been planning the mission. So as a specialist, you can be a platoon sergeant, you can be a platoon leader, you can have the responsibility of getting the mission done, where other units, that's not. If it happens, it doesn't happen quite as often. But on the back to the failure side, if you mess up, you're expected to mess up because you're a private or a specialist. They get it. You can do an AAR, you get it over with. You see what you did wrong, you see what you did right, and you move forward. And I think that's an aspect of leadership that I haven't seen talked about a lot.
True. Yeah. No, I mean, you're exactly right. I would agree. And I would add to it, ownership is one thing to fail, but then owning it.
Yeah.
And that's the only other part too, which I've seen just throughout my career, is like, one, you got to own it. And nothing was worse than like UCMJ for me. Somebody comes in and that's all I was looking for. I'm like, please you look at every case based on its own merit, but like, just own it. Don't give me everything else. I've read your letter. Just like, all I'm waiting for you to do is owning it. If you own it, then you just open the door. I mean, you might not have gotten yourself completely off, but you just like open the door in a different way because you owned it right out of the gate. And that was always a key difference for me. You absolutely fail often, fail early, never try.
Your
as a leader, if you mess up and you own it in front of your soldiers and they see that you owned it, not necessarily UCMJ, whatever else it may be, like, they're going to respect that a lot more.
Yeah,
obviously. Yeah.
Well, your analogy about running track and people were afraid to fall. I feel like in that analogy, it's not the falling that you should look forward to falling so that you can get back up and do better, and figure out
buddy.
how you fell. Yeah.
One, the shin on the hurdle, and then the aftermath.
That hurt, dude.
Oh yeah. You're gonna stumble and tumble and everything else. Right? Feelings are gonna get hurt pretty bad.
Yeah, but you were talking about getting that attaboy from your dad, and it didn't happen until when you got promoted to colonel.
Yeah.
You want to chat about that a little bit, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So one, you had to get the background on my dad. My dad was like 6'4", 260, truck driver, drove 18-wheelers all his life. I mean, farm boy. I mean, grew up on a farm, horses, pigs, cows, all that kind of stuff. Big dude, very intimidating. Big country, straight up. And I mean, and his nickname was like Big Arms. He had like huge arms, right? Wasn't good for me as a kid growing up. And just very tough, but very smart. And so he didn't give a lot of, credit. He didn't suffer fools easy, to include his own kids. And, everything I did, you never got like, hey, I'm proud of it. Never heard that from my dad, ever. And I'm like, yeah, kind of okay with it, thinking it's normal, and just continue to go throughout life. When whatever, I would do, come on, man, here's a great grade. Here's a state championship. Here's this. And it's like, okay, good. It's kind of like just, all right, what's next? And you're like, holy cow. So I kept going. And then at some point, I think when I was a teenager, I'm like, I'm going to get it. Like, the one thing I want to hear out of your mouth before you die is like, I'm proud of you, right? And it wasn't the conversation we had. I just kept going. And it wasn't until I was a colonel. And literally, it's like I lay out in the book. I mean, in the receiving line, 44 years old, I'm not, expecting to hear it. He'd been to other promotions. He came to my airborne school graduation. He pinned my wings. And it was like, yeah, good. You're like, good. You just watched me jump out of a freaking plane. You're like, okay, good. I'm like, whatever. I mean, he never served in the military. So I'm like, didn't get it then. But at 44, I'm standing there, new colonel's rank on. He comes through the line, grabs my hand, and you're not expecting it. So it's like a punch out of left field. He looks at me. He's like, "I'm proud of you." And literally, you're like the dog that just caught a mouthful of car. You're like, I don't know what to do, kind of thing. But I tell people that fueled me all that time. So I mean, it was the pursuit. It was like the chase of that, not necessarily perfection, but just like excellence. Like no matter where you get, don't get comfortable, keep pushing. And that's what I learned from that. And once he told me, I'm like, well, I got to find something else to chase because I've been chasing this for so long. Now I've got it. I don't really know what to do. And then just, change gears to something else. But some people look at me when they hear that story. They're like, "Oh, you poor baby, your dad never told you he was proud." I'd be like, "Hey, don't feel sorry for me. That helped me. That I'm not that guy. I'm not that dude. I didn't take it that way. That turned me on versus like turning me off and wanting to go in a corner and suck my thumb or something."
Right. Hey, Vivian in the chat says, General Beagle, did you write a book about your napkin leadership points? Just probably should tune out. Or is it The Rock? Question mark.
Well, no, I've got 2 books on the napkin. So volume 1, volume 2.
Yeah.
The Rock was from my time as a battalion commander. All my soldiers then told me to write a book after battalion command. I mean, most battalion commanders would say that, but I got to tell you, it is a story I would share at pre-command courses. And the commanders there thought it was, and sergeant majors thought it was so unbelievable. I'm like, I'm not making this up. I got it in a book. And like the long story short, my first 8 months in command, in battalion command, I didn't have a sergeant major, an S3, an S1, a chaplain, or an XO at the same time at any given time because they were all in the process of getting relieved or fired. That was in my first 8 months. In the first two weeks, I'm at a shoot house. I'm on the catwalk walking, and somebody yells ceasefire. So if you're in a shoot house, somebody yells ceasefire, what are you thinking? You're like, oh boy, this is not good. I look on the other side, and there's a soldier on the ground like bleeding out, and everybody's freaking out. And so I look over, and all my wisdom, I'm like, hey, go get the medic. And one of the kids looks up at me and says, sir, that is the medic. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And what I tell the audience is, I said, well, anytime you're in trouble, make a phone call. So I made 2 phone calls. I called the brigade S3 and I said, hold the brigade commander and the CG because I know they're coming. And then I called my wife because we were 2 weeks in. I said, all those boxes you're packing, stop. Because this job ain't going to last too long. Just go ahead and just pack those boxes right back up. Right. And I said, that's how I started in battalion command. But at the end of it, I mean, it was like the best command ever. I mean, those kids were doing things that were amazing. And it was all about the tools that you're just pulling from everywhere because there was no blueprint, no freaking map, to imagine. I mean, literally, your sergeant major gets relieved. I mean, when I got there, he had 2 Gomars on. And I'm like, nobody bothered to tell me anything about it. My 3 comes in. He got transferred from a battalion that was, we say toxic, counterproductive these days. And he just had a nuclear meltdown in my talk one night because we were in the field 2 weeks after I took command. And it was just all kind of crazy, just crazy. The brigade commander got relieved in that 8 months. I mean, it was absolutely nuts. And the fact that battalion did things that were unbelievable, you're like, and I don't take the credit for it. It was just the way it happened. I mean, I was using literally, I had a staff E7 that I went down to my 3 shop and I said, I need you to be my 1 because I don't have an S1 right now. He said, sir, I don't know anything about being an adjutant. I said, no, you don't.
Figure it out.
But you know how to lead people and you know how to manage systems. We was the best S1 I've ever had, right? An E7.
Nice.
So I just pulled over. I had a captain, my HAC, that I made him the XO in a short amount of time. And this kid, he didn't know what he didn't know about being a battalion XO, but he did it. And, the one thing for me was I was always able to underwrite any of their mistakes, whatever they did, because at that point, a battalion. That's the last point in time you're going to know a formation, better than any other formation because you've lived in it for so long. But it was allowing everybody else to learn and grow and just kind of coaching them, in those roles until new people showed up. The only person I fired out of that group, because everybody self-selected, was a chaplain. I mean, I literally point to point, looked the chaplain in the eye and said, you're fired. You're absolutely fired. Don't come back to my battalion.
That story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't just yada yada. I fired a chaplain. That's
You pretty much covered my entire question because I was going to ask you what moment in your career best represents the idea of the map running out, and clearly, I think that moment.
Firing
that was it.
There was like no, but the chaplain
not firing the chaplain necessarily, but just taking over that battalion and then running into all those situations. Yeah.
But the chaplain story really quick. I mean, new chaplain comes in, and I spent a lot of time with him, and I was doing more, counseling with him than he was with me, right? Supposed to be your legal ethical or legal religious advisor and all that. and something just wasn't right, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And again, we're out in the field, and we had a family day, so we didn't go back. So all the families came out for like one 4 or 5 hour period, and then we sent them back and we stayed in the field. And the XO had told him to do something, and he refused to do it. I said, well, tell the chaplain to come see me. And so the assistant comes to see me up in my talk, and I said, hey, you're the assistant. I asked for the chaplain. I said, where's the chaplain? He said, oh, he's pissed. I'm like, he's pissed at who? And he was like, sure, I guess he's pissed at everybody. I said, well, no, you go get the chaplain, and then you bring him to me. So chaplain shows up. We start talking. And then this guy, believe it or not, this is something I hadn't written down, but this is really what got it. Because, there were always some frictions. I heard stories about his sermons. Soldiers were telling me, like, hey, sir, you got to come here to chapel and eat stuff he's talking about, up on the, I'm like, tell me. And they were telling me, I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And so he comes in, and it's funny because he was African-American, right? And so we get into like this little scuffle. And then he looks at me and says, you know what? I'm going to call the race card. And I'm like, are you looking at me? Because I'm looking at you. And that's when I knew. I'm like, okay, you're like not wrapped too tight whatsoever. And I said, okay, I tell you what, there's a bus that goes back every day to take soldiers back for whatever and bring them back. Get on that bus. Don't ever come back to my battalion footprint like ever. And then, like I said, if you have something happen, you always make a phone call. Then I called the brigade commander and I said, sir, I just did something I don't think I'm authorized to do. I just fired the chaplain. Told him never to come back. I'll explain when we come out of the field. He was good with it, but like I said, that brigade commander went on to get relieved too. But but that was the one. And soldiers found out about that story. I would have new soldiers come in. I met every new soldier that came into the battalion. And one comes in and I, give him a little spiel, and one raises his hand. He's a brand new private. He's like, I said, yes, you got a question? He's like, yes, sir. He's like, is it true that you fired a chaplain? I was like, yeah. He got that at reception before he even got to me. The story had already gotten out.
But at the time, that's who fires chaplains,
That's how that's how you prove a point, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like going into prison and finding somebody
unit,
and beating them up on the first day. You fire the chaplain, you get everyone's attention immediately.
Yeah.
And this is good for people watching, listening. And when again, the compass, right? Your morals, like your true north. When something starts making that tingle a little bit, and then I explain this to younger leaders as well. I go, you're not going to necessarily know what to do, in your first couple of years. Yeah. But when that true north, I didn't call it that. Like I said, it's a great way to put it. When that compass starts going the wrong way, even though the sun's over there and that should be pointing toward west, right? It why is it not pointing toward west?
Yeah.
All right, there's a problem.
Right. Yeah.
That's when you act. And I go, that's the hardest thing that you're going to do, is that you have to act. What was that like? Was that something? I know you don't want to get too much into who the battalion was or that kind of stuff, but was it simply, were there just enough people finally just cutting out the bullshit to where people started getting relieved? Like, no, this is not right. And once I proved that these things would happen, like I'd fire a chaplain. The others that got self-selected. The sergeant major, as an example, was a really good guy, but he was one of those guys that just had favorites. There were cliques I didn't know about, all those type things, and I should have known when I took the battalion, because when I asked my predecessor, I'm like, how was the relationship with you and the sergeant major? And he said, not really. That was the only words. And I tell people, I said, I put that in my little green notebook, not really, and closed it up. And something was wrong. And that's when I found out about the GOMARs, everything else, started talking to soldiers. And I'm in the motor pool one day and I'm like, hey, did you guys talk to Sergeant Major about this? And they're like, sir, what do you mean? He doesn't ever come over and talk to us. I'm like, what do you mean he doesn't come talk to you? It's like, no, he doesn't talk to us. I'm like, oh my God. And so you have all that kind of madness that was just going. And here's another good one for you. And this is so unbelievable. I literally had two privates walk to my office one day with a petition, knock on my door, and they're standing there with a piece of paper, shaking. And I'm like, what do you got? And they got this piece of paper in their hand. I'm like, so we got a petition. I'm like, well, we don't do that in the Army, but I'll entertain it. Everybody in the platoon had signed this thing. And I'm like, well, what is it for? They said, we want to get rid of our platoon sergeant because he's like a really bad person. He's like a really bad dude, and it's killing us. And I'm like, okay. And of course, I go to the company commander and first sergeant, and he was like the best platoon sergeant they had, best guy ever.
And I'm like, I said, there's got to be something wrong. These two privates came to my office with a petition, like shaking like 2 leaves in
They
freaking
just
a
watched Band of
hurricane.
Brothers. That's what happened.
Yeah, you know, and I'm like, there's got to be something to it. And they denied it. You know, did some more digging. Sure enough, they were right. And I called a buddy. We had agreements among all battalion, commanders. I called a buddy. I said, look, this guy's got to go. Like, time now, and I'll explain it later. Just take him, and then we'll figure it out. But it all panned out to be true, and they were right. I mean, it was just a point in time where doing the right thing, not even if you were completely certain about it, but just following through. Even with that, I mean, I could have blew those kids off very easy, but they were dead right, because their leadership above them were like, oh, this is our best guy. He's like walks on water. Like, best platoon sergeant we got. No, not really. And they had the courage to bring it up. And I remember going back to tell them, I said, look, you don't have a platoon sergeant. You're not going to get one. So you're all going to be like in charge of yourselves, and it's got to work. And that was like my maintenance platoon. And that was like the best maintenance platoon like ever.
That was a good move. Yeah. And speaking of things like that, I ask all the generals that come on here. Let's talk about maybe the worst decision that you ever made. 35 years of service, amazing. Like, what leadership decision, when you look back, was like one of the worst, or that taught you the most, that you look back now and say, if there's one specific one where you're like, I would have handled that differently, Is there one specific one? Obviously, we all have various ones that I look back and say, oh, I should have probably handled that a different way, or I should have handled that a different way. But is there one that like kind of like stands out for you?
Yeah, it does. But even to this day, I don't know how to fix it. And the reason why I say that, I wear it like on my arm every day. There's 4 of my soldiers. One's a scout platoon sergeant, one's a PA, others are driver, and others are gunner. But I've been wearing this since 2005, and I was a 3 in Iraq. And you do normal things as a 3. And one particular mission, I just had the instinct to like do the route myself, like literally on the map, tracing it. I mean, I'd seen the terrain, everything else, but I did it myself before we sent the scouts out, on this recon. And the scouts go out, and this radio call comes in, and you know how we do it with Rosh numbers. They're like, "Well, we got some KIAs." I'm listening to the radio, like, "What do you mean?" And they start rattling off these numbers, and the numbers were like to these guys. The PA wanted to go out because he'd never been off the FOB. He just wanted to go out, and I'm like, "This is pretty safe. It's a recon. Battalion's going to go in 48 hours later. That's all you're doing, looking." And I'm like, "What could possibly go wrong?" But my instinct said, "No, you do the route, you trace it, everything else." I personally briefed it to the scout platoon. Well, the problem with that was the platoon leader decided to deviate the route. He wanted to get a closer look. And when they did that, it went off the route that I expressly laid out to him. And I still, take some of the blame for that. Just don't know how to go back and correct it. And when I asked him, I said, because he survived, the rest of the platoon survived, but his platoon sergeant and 3 others didn't. I said, why did you deviate off the route? And he's like, so I just wanted to get a little bit closer to look. And I'm like, if you just stayed on this line, I mean, literally on this line, on this map, there and back, no problems. And it just, when I say decision, not, a decision, so to speak, but just something you wish you could just re-looked at, rethought it, everything else. Because I know those dudes well. That scout platoon sergeant, even being the 3, would like come in my office like, at least 2 or 3 times a week, just to chat. And you think about a 3 and a scout platoon sergeant, you never go see the battalion 3. I mean, this was a guy that would, I love, Copenhagen. I can say it now, but not on that. And I come in, I'd find a can of Copenhagen just right there on my desk. I'm like, sorry, Nico put that there. His wife would send it to him. He'd drop me off a can, just kind of way say I love you, kind of thing. And this, somebody bad judgment, not necessarily mine, but I still, kind of take that. What could I have done, different? I think we all have something in the back of our brain that beat us up.
Sure.
I mean, short of that, yeah, lots of mistakes, but that's the one that I always wish I could pull back some type of way.
Thanks for sharing that. And rest in peace to those guys. Yeah, salute.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one for real. Like,
yeah,
and that kind of goes with what Buddy was talking about earlier, where it's like, not to that exact story, but just kind of like, if you're in position long enough, like you were, there's just those, eventually things are going to happen, and
sure.
Like I talk about it when it comes to like suicide prevention. When I teach those classes, I'm like, hey, if you don't start training it when you're young, I was like, you stay in long enough, it's going to hit you in the face. And the first time that you have to do it is for real.
Mhm.
Right. And, but yeah, like, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one because, you know, that survivor's guilt. And then also like what you could have done is, I don't think there's a way you ever really buy that back other than, I think we've talked about on the show before, is where,
Plenty of times. Yep.
it's what you do afterwards. It's what
Yeah.
what do you project afterwards? What light do you project afterwards to be great?
I think,
You know,
I
like,
think back to kind of what we were talking about earlier with the ability to fail or ability to mess up. I think the other thing that we really need to, one of the things that I think will help us later on in life, especially after we look back on our military careers, and there are things that we wish that we had done better, especially things that we wish that we had done better that caused somebody, or that that somebody didn't make it and or got hurt bad. Is that there's a difference between like a laissez-faire attitude and not caring and giving yourself grace, and we don't do a great job of giving, as military people, especially people that are infantry or doing the job at a high level and or a dangerous level, is giving ourselves grace for making decisions that if we had known how they were going to turn out, we wouldn't have made them.
We
But
wouldn't have
there's
made
no
those
way to
decisions
know how
anyway.
they turn
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the game that we play. And it's not like football where you get a penalty, you go back and you try again. The game that we play has got a whole lot higher stakes, but even in that game with high stakes, you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself some grace for, it's one thing to, make some maniacally stupid plan. And it's a different thing to make a plan that tactically checks all the blocks and should be good. And then, I mean, the enemy has a vote. So you have to be able to give yourself some grace for, the fact that you can't plan for what the enemy is going to throw at you,
Yeah. Yep.
Well said, buddy. Yeah, it's true.
yeah. Oh, well,
Every now and
all
then.
right.
Yeah.
Every now
So
and
where's
then.
the book available? Where's the book? Amazon, obviously.
Yeah.
The web,
So
web,
yeah, it's on Amazon now. We had a different link just kind of for early bird special. We give a discount. I did that because of the shutdown, right? I mean that gave at least $3-4 discount just before we put it on Amazon for folks that wanted to get it. I mean, $20 still a lot of money for people that weren't working, but I did that all the way through the shutdown. And as soon as it was over, it's like, okay, now you can, to the publisher, you're clear to put it on Amazon. So it's there. It's not much more. Nothing is like 23 on Amazon. Paperback is like 14. So still relatively inexpensive, to get. But yes, definitely on Amazon.
nice.
All right, and
Perfect.
Yeah, I got the link on X, and then the links have been shared on all the chats. So if you're listening now, if you just signed on like Vivian, all right, just scroll back up the comments a little bit, and we'll get there. Baker's sharing his screen. There it is right there. So you got the book right there. That's what it looks like when the map runs out. I'm telling you. And yeah, again, you have those exercises in there. Talk about the exercises real quick.
Yeah, and really what I call the book, because it's not a very thick book, is protein for the practitioner. A lot of books, I mean, you get them, they're like 200 pages. I mean, I've read a lot of those books, and for the practitioner needs ability to reflect. So you can read, those chapters, go through it, but then how do you apply that to yourself? And it's not rehearse my framework, and that's kind of what you get in some books. Is at the end you got this framework you got to remember, and everything else. Like, no, this is about you. So I mean, how do you one of the points in there is like, admit failure. I mean, go into your team meeting, whatever. What's one failure you made? A value linked to it. You go into your next meeting or next group huddle, whatever you do, and admit that to the team. And then have somebody else do that back, right? Just so you can kind of see. And those are some of the things that we would really do. And even if you're a leader that doesn't do it, is trying to get those and that don't into a space where they're comfortable going in. Like, you know what, guys, I kind of jacked this one up. I mean, what'd you guys see? I mean, then of course everybody's gonna, oh yeah, so you screwed that up like 8 days of Sunday. But otherwise, if you wouldn't have asked, nobody would have said anything. So those things are really more to make whoever's reading it reflect, on themselves, and how does that apply to you, so you can figure out what your true north really is, because the organization is looking at you not for your true north. They're looking for you to be the compass, because the needle is inside the compass, right? And so where your needle points is where that organization is going to point 9 out of 10. So you got to make sure your needle, that compass, is what everybody else is going to orient by.
Right. Yeah, and I'm glad I like that, because I didn't do a book of Earl today because it was Buddy's day, but I usually do what I get triggered about and what made me lose my cool or make me act like a moron. I used to get real
every
triggered.
day.
Yeah, every day. Well, hey, it happened. I reach out. I tell the stories, right? Like, this is, don't do this, right? Don't be like the big girl right now. But I used to get super triggered I call them the book leaders. Now, I think you should read. I think you should gain knowledge any way you can. But just because you read Jocko's book, all right, doesn't mean we all need to act like that now. Doesn't mean your unit acts like that, right? It might not be for that unit. Because that was a SEAL team, homie, right? Like that's a little different, right? That Joe over there, he ain't gonna sit in your meeting and go, "All right, I bought in." No, that Joe's gonna be like, "This shit sucks." Because he's gonna carry a lot. So no, I like that you did that with hey, make this practical. Like, hey, right about the first exercise, like what did you have? What was your outcome for this meeting? What did you want to get in this meeting? Right. And then, maybe apply some of those things you read in a different book. Did they work? Did they not? Were people receptive? Don't, hey, read this book. This is the general's reading list, and we're going to do all this stuff. Like, God damn it. I'm like,
No, exactly right. Because you'll never recognize it. And that's why I love, I fell more in love with the metaphor of the map and the compass, and especially with the compass, because, what you just pointed out, Big Earl, is we'll look at a lot of those things and go, oh, we got an alignment problem. They even say that now that I'm kind of starting to work with, corporate people. It's an alignment problem. It's like, no, it's not an alignment problem. It's a calibration problem. And here's why it's a calibration problem. Because what you say is aligned with your strategy, your plan, your framework, but what you do is not aligned with your own organization's values or your values. That's a calibration problem, not an alignment problem. So you got to calibrate yourself, and it starts there. And that, again, just using those simple things that most people can, reference is like, yeah, you're right. That's not alignment, because you're aligned with something. There's something else you're not aligned to that's making it not add up. That's calibration.
Hey, we're gonna make some swag for you, Dave. Shirt idea. Calibrate yourself, right? And then you can have when the map runs out.
Yeah, we can make that. Yeah,
we're gonna trademark that real quick. Hey, quick, Chris, get on that. Get on the USC.
Writing it down. I got it. Let's do it.
Trademark that. That's awesome.
Yeah, before these guys have any last questions, I just wanted to a little bit more on the fun side. All right, now that you're retired, all right, what do we really think about Sergeant Major Carnes? How's he doing with the Pittsburgh Steelers not doing too well with Aaron Rodgers breaking his wrist? How's he doing over there? I really like Sergeant Major Carnes. So I'm just,
he is awesome. He was a breath of fresh air coming into CAC, when I was there. And I mean, he and his wife, Teresa, just great people. Just great. I think every time we saw each other, we be hugging. And this is daily, right? So, this is how refreshing it was. It's not every day, Sergeant Major walks in your office, you have a chat, and then you're bro hugging before you leave. And it's not saying anything ill about, his predecessor, but we just had a great connection. Just automatic connection, great on stage together. We can compliment each other, but yeah, probably not doing too good with Pittsburgh, being where they are, but he's going to be great, for CAC. I think he comes out in 27, but all the stuff that he does on social media, himself, or good, just kind of tells you where he is and how he is as a person.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I told him he's got to use some AI voiceovers to get more views. You know what I'm talking about.
Somebody, I was kind of pissed with him too. Somebody did, because we do PCC, which is roughly 7 times a year, 300 plus battalion commanders or future battalion commanders, brigade commanders, and sergeant majors, and they'd always give feedback on all of us, all the general officers and the sergeant majors. And somebody did that once on his feedback, and because we get it and read it, and they said something about his voice, and I'm like, oh, I so jacked up, but that hurt him so bad, and really both of us, because I'm like, out of everything that was said, that's the only thing that you really picked up out of this, and you're going into battalion or brigade. That's absolutely nuts, right? You're kind of playing kindergarten ball in that sense, but he got over it, but I still think it was just there in the
for
back of
sure.
his mind,
Yeah,
and,
'cause
and
he can't
even
control that.
even mine. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, he's a great leader. I hope that he's watching. He said he was going to, but look forward to talking with you again too, Sergeant Major Carnes, and good luck on your last year too. But you guys got anything else for the general?
I don't. It's great talking to you, and great hearing your stories. It was. I look forward to reading your book.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I got one last question, quick one.
All right,
One
yeah, one more.
sentence,
Get him.
or the best piece of advice to, let's say, a young individual that's watching this show right now, and he goes and becomes a lieutenant. So one piece of advice, real quick, if it's the only thing you can tell him, a brand new lieutenant stepping into the field, like what could you tell him?
It's an old one, but listen to your NCOs.
There's tons of them.
There's tons. But
Yep.
I mean, and by the way, people ask me how I got so far, and I said I married the daughter of a CSM. So I said I was getting groomed from like day one.
I was waiting for that. Listen to your NCOs.
Listen to your NCOs. I mean, and
Don't listen to all of them. Pick the right one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But like, listen
horrible captains are made by horrible E7s.
Yeah.
It's
1,000%
real thing.
Absolutely true.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yep.
Listen
to your NCOs.
That's freaking awesome. But anyways, quick hot wash. We don't know what happened to the Atlas 5. It's going hyperbolic out of the atmosphere right now. And CAC wasn't tracking it. CAC wasn't tracking it. I don't think that was their responsibility, but we didn't know that if maybe they were in the same room with Stratcom or something and they got, Okay, so nothing, just trying to get it out one more time to see if there was any leakage we could get out. All right, so that alien ship has passed. And then, you got to ask ourselves a serious question when it comes to our dogs and our animals. All right, is it right to take, the gangster out of its environment, right? Because then it just becomes soft, right? The dog just becomes soft. And, we got to be careful with that because there is truth to it. Dave's got a German Shepherd, but the German Shepherd's trained. It does what it's supposed to do. You got a German Shepherd.
Doesn't even speak German well anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't speak German anymore. Yeah, no, Dave speaks German. It's good. Yeah,
I taught him in English though. Yeah.
But that is a good metaphor for life, right? Like, hey, stay grounded. Find out who you are, right? True north. What are your values? What do you value? What are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Or otherwise, like to Buddy's point, we had most people think I had a beagle as a pet with a last name like Beagle, but we had a Chihuahua. We lost her probably about a month ago, but up at Drum, and we were there twice. Had to put boots on this dog and a jacket to take her out in the snow, right? And dig the tunnel and dig all the tunnels in the patch, right? And she would never use the same patch, twice. And I mean, and she a small dog, a Chihuahua, but it could be like 5 feet wide. She used it once, I had to go dig another one. Oh yeah.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, he knows. He knows.
I know my kids don't watch this show, but my wife wants to get the kids a Pomeranian for Christmas, and I'm like, no, man.
So every once in a while, you got to get back out to the woods, all right? And like I said, that's the segue into the guest. Every once in a while, you got to get back in the woods and find out where your compass is pointing, right? Yeah. If your compass is telling you going in that draw, like you've been doing something wrong when you haven't been in the woods in a while. You don't go into the draw monster. But no, hey, go grab the book. When the map runs out, we have all the links on there from General Beagle, and it's phenomenal. It's not a leadership book, all right? It's an exercise on calibrating yourself, all right? Go calibrate yourself. Go figure it out. We got that coin. We're gonna make a shirt. Go calibrate yourself.
Yeah, and you guys all remember this. I mean,
stay on after we get off, sir. We'll talk about the shirt idea real quick. Yeah.
Still got one of those on my kit. Not a huge deal.
Yeah, you still have a kit, weirdo. But I mean, you do work for
you never know when shit's gonna pop off.
Buddy's ready.
Next thing I'm grabbing is this and a pistol. He's like, okay, all 2 things I need.
I already got him on the belt. Don't have to worry about it. Got a compass, a pistol, and an aid kit. Somebody's gonna need it. It ain't gonna be me.
Yeah. I would always. Oh man, I don't want to get off on a tangent here. Oh nope, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
Nope. Let's not.
We'll talk about it after the show. One of my favorite AARs is a Ranger instructor, but we'll talk about it after the show. But other than that, Dave, close us out.
Hey again, sir. Thanks for coming on. I did not complete the entire book. I started reading it the other day, so I look forward to finishing it. And then obviously in the chat, everybody go buy the book. We got a couple in there that are saying that they're going to go get it. So that's awesome. If you missed the show or tuned in late, go to VeteranTrashTalk.com. That is our website, which has links to everything. Go to shop.VeteranTrashTalk.com. That's where you can get our awesome merch. Today I'm wearing one of the OG shirts, Veteran Trash Talk, get the demons out. Okay, that is our motto. Go to YouTube, give us a subscribe and a like. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next Saturday. Faceman VTT out. Boom.